order. I'm calling David Bennett.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I'm glad that last speaker woke up once the bell went and he actually got to his speech, but he did make one comment, and that is that the government has ridden off the back of Michael Cullen. Well, we all know what Michael Cullen left this country: 10 years of deficits ahead, high interest rates, a country that was going into recession before the rest of the world. That's what Michael Cullen left New Zealand. That's what the Labour Party and New Zealand First left New Zealand. And that is not what this budget represents, Mr Speaker, because in this appropriation bill and Imprest supply bill, we see what this budget actually delivers for New Zealanders. And that is GDP growth of 2.9%, projected to be 2.8% over the next 5 years. Exports up $2 billion in the last year. Trade surplus of $350 million in the last month. I remember the days when the opposition would come in here and ask about trade surpluses and deficits, but not anymore, because New Zealand's in surplus. More than 200,000 people in work than 3 years ago, and another 170,000 jobs by 2020. Unemployment rate to drop to 4.6%, and average wage to increasing to $63,000 per person. That's up $16,000 since the National Party came to office. This is the truth of what has happened in New Zealand, Mr Clark, and I wish you would listen. The net operating allowance of only $1.6 billion, compared with Labour of $4.3 billion. The Labour Party that Grant Robertson was so keen to expand the virtues of, that spent New Zealand into recession before the rest of the world. Operating surpluses expected for the next few years, going to $2.5 billion in 2018-19 and then $6.7 billion in 2019-20. Net debt to peak at 25.6% of GDP and then falling to 19.3% of GDP. What does that show the New Zealand public? It shows the New Zealand public prudent economic management, good economic management in this budget that delivers results for New Zealanders. It delivers the ability for us to fund those social services in the many areas that New Zealanders want. And contrast that with what is happening in the rest of the world at the moment. Britain deciding to be isolationist. Britain could be the Hong Kong of Europe if they took approach of looking wider towards Asia, Africa, the Pacific and America. But instead they are taking a very isolationist approach. America may well follow that isolationist approach later in the year. We know in Canada there's a left-wing government that's spending money like it's going out of fashion and will destroy their economy. What does that leave? That leaves New Zealand and Australia at the bottom of the world that actually have the best Western economies, and New Zealand has the best Western economy of any country in the world. And mark my words, Mr Speaker, New Zealand will be the place where all Europeans and all Americans and all Asians and all people of this world that want to have a good future will actually want to come and prosper, because it is a country that will run itself in a prudent and successful way. We have shown we can do that, and we have shown how important it is to do that. We do not need to be a failed state like Europe, where there's too much bureaucracy, where there is initiatives and supporting uncompetitive industries, where there's large welfare state and high debts in those countries. We need a country that is open and free, that trades with the rest of the world, and that's what this budget delivers for New Zealanders. And this budget delivers for all people in the world to see what can be done with this country and what is important. And we will hear from opposition speakers that there should be no immigration, that we should cut this country down, we should take an isolationist approach. That is the policy of the Labour Party. They are against immigration. We know the Green Party are against immigration, and how silent they are in this House. They won't admit to their policy when it's set in front of them. They are so silent about it, aren't they? And we know New Zealand First has always been against immigration, and they do not see New Zealand as an open place for business. And Mr Speaker, this budget is a budget through its Imprest supply bill and the appropriation bill that show that we are open for business. We have set the fundamentals there for New Zealand to prosper and succeed. And take this in the future when New Zealand as a country that has that opportunity will be a haven for all those like-minded people that believe in the future of themselves and their people. New Zealand has that stable government that can take up those opportunities, and we look forward to that happening in the near future as we continue to build on the successes of this last budget. Mr Speaker, we also saw in this budget, in the speech from Bill English, how there has been an attempt and an approach to actually look at social investment and to look at how that spending has been spent to make sure that we see the strong results of that expenditure. And no more than we can see that in areas such as education. And with the large investment in innovation in this budget, it really sets up a strong basis for education for our people. It sets up a system where people understand that there is a strong investment in things like the STEM subjects in our universities. So our students see where their job opportunities are. They know that that investment is there, so they can follow that investment through. It sets up the extended healthcare provision as well in the budget, with over $2 billion in extra healthcare expenditure for New Zealanders to deliver those services. It also works in the education field around how to look at funding for schools so that we actually fund those students that are most in need rather than just broad increases that have been in the past. Mr Speaker, the use of that kind of data and understanding of information so that we deliver the best services for New Zealanders is what our people want. It is the best use of our resources as a government, and it shows an economic base that is solid and strong that can deliver those opportunities. And Mr Speaker, when you look through and see that economic base, we are flourishing in this modern world. New Zealand has gone through the economic hardships of the recession. We have rebuilt, to a large extent, Christchurch, and at the same time have managed to do so in a way that is prudent for our budgets and has made us into a place where we now can have surpluses going forward. That gives New Zealanders opportunities and choices. Choices that would be taken away by the opposition, which want to spend and spend and spend and take away those surpluses to deliver New Zealand no opportunities to the future. We have the Green Party over there, their spokesperson, wanting to talk about the word communism. Well, we know that he is a member of that party, and so we acknowledge his past in that area. But the Green Party, for example, would be the last party you'd want to have in control of the budget of New Zealand. And we know through the agreement with the Labour Party that those two parties are looking at formalising such arrangement. But we always know that the Labour Party leads the Green Party that far and then dumps them just at the election day and then goes with New Zealand First. So beware in the Green Party that I hope that the agreement has something tangible for you, because it is unlikely to ever come to fruition after an election result because their history is not such. Mr Speaker, these are interesting times in the world. They are not the times to be isolationist. They are not the times to set walls around our country. They are the times where we should look forward and we should take advantage of our opportunities. New Zealand is uniquely placed. We are the country that has strong economic management. We have solid bases through education and healthcare for our citizens. We have a free and democratic system. We have an opportunity for all people to achieve their full potential. No other country in this world creates that environment at this time. And with the uncertainty in Europe, with the uncertainty in America, and with the growth of Asia, we are uniquely placed to become the place where everybody will want to be in the future. And New Zealand should take that advantage, and we can ill afford to have an opposition in this Parliament and in any government going forward that would stop New Zealand being able to take advantage of those opportunities. Thank you, Mr Speaker.
Point of